Hi everyone. I know I said in the last video that we'd probably be in April in planting season in the next video or doing contracts, but I think we've got enough for a video today and we're doing neither of those. So we have got the case and we pulled out the IH planter, which we needed to do to rearrange the workshop a bit. So with the vehicle damage system and everything else going on, and a few new mods on Mod Hub, including this workbench here that works as a workshop trigger. We've sort of redone the workshop. We've just got the Steiger in to have a look at some of it, just to give it a service, as we didn't really touch it after we bought it last year. Put the jewels on the 8910. And we fixed up this soil sampler that we bought second hand, needed a few parts, so we got them. But the main thing is we've just given it a little bit of decor. We've got these shelves here for the gardening stuff, easy access to the greenhouses out there. We already had plumbing for the pressure washer, so we've got a bit of a sink in the workshop, just to, it's always handy to have, and a generator there. These two workbenches, this one's from a decoration pack that's on the Mod Hub, I think, and this one's the actual workshop trigger, and they work really nicely together. And then just a few other bits of workshop stuff. You never know what you might need. But yeah, the Steiger's done, so we'll move that out of the way. And the reason for this video really is because I remembered it is quite late in the day. It's March 4th, so nearly the end, and we'll start planting tomorrow. But I remembered that our nitrogen on all of our grass fields still needs work. If we look there, it's all pretty terrible, but the grass should be growing and we should be getting ready to do our first cut. So we really need to apply that. So we've got this field here, these sort of one or two depending on how you count it, and these two little ones down here. So it shouldn't take us too long. I've dragged the fertiliser spreader out of the shed, but I don't think, no, it's empty at the moment. And we also bought at the store 4 more pallets of fertiliser because A, we might be doing some contracts that require it later on, but also I just figured we'd need the extra stuff. We've been doing some forestry since the last episode as well, so this skid steer we brought back from the forest. I think we did 2, maybe 3 extra loads of trees, which has boosted our income a little bit. Of course, a lot of that was then immediately taken out because of the fertiliser costs. But we'll get, I think the 40-20 handles it better. I can't remember if it needs a front weight or not to lift all the way up into the spreader. But I guess we'll find out. Oh, that's very crooked, isn't it? And oh dear, it's a bit sketchy. Yeah, bear with me and we'll go get the back weight for it. Because even with these wheel weights, it's very front heavy. There we go. And let's not be in the wrong gear. So we gave the yard a basic tidy up. We moved the gravity wagons down to the sort of cut through we made between right round the back of the workshop, and the feeder wagon's now just tucked up on one side of the pig shed because we're not going to be using it until we figure out a new method of feeding pigs, I think, or at least until next harvest, when we'll actually have the corn and beans to do it. I don't actually know how much fertiliser we're going to need for the grass fields. I can't imagine it's more than 1, but we'll put 2 in because we've done all our lime for the time being, so it'll be useful no matter what, hopefully. And as I said, they're only small fields, so even though it's getting quite late in the day, we should be fine for time. And then I think all that needs doing, we'll use the Model A that you haven't really seen much of. We'll run that down to the creek at the bottom and use it to top greenhouses up with some water. And other than that, just trying to think of anything else. I think that'll probably be it until harvest, or no, sorry, until planting season even. So I guess we'll see how long it takes us and decide whether that'll be in 1 video or 2. That could do with prepping and filling with seed and fertiliser too. This is low on diesel, but I think it'll be fine. Let's just make sure we don't go hitting the door there. That's it. That'll do. Now, the original reason I got this 8910 probably upgraded from the white a bit sooner than I would have planned, but the white only has like the 2 spool connections there, so when we hooked up with this, it just had lines dangling, which I didn't like. Let's see if that will... There we go. So we got this because of the extra set of spools, but it's come in really handy, and even though we bought it used with about 20 to 30 hours on, I want to say. So we still put a good 60, 65 hours. And I think we'll start from the top, see how we get on. Put the flashes on, of course. Yeah, we'll see how we get on. I doubt we'll use a whole 2.6 cubic yards. I must say, I am trying all this, the US measurement system mods, and the one I still can't quite get my head around in terms of just visualising the capacities is cubic yards. I think bushels I've got nailed down by now. I'm getting there. Of course, base game is just purely litres for everything. And of course we got precision farming, so we'll make sure that the automatic application rate is on, which it is. And trying to remember back, I think 18, gear 18 is the optimum. And I'm used to line, so the fertiliser will be broadcast wider, of course. Get the map up. That's all good. And that's detecting grass, so we can close that. And like I said, it won't take long at all, really. And I've just seen we missed a bale last year. That... I even remember that falling down there and thinking we should go and get it, and we never did. So I'm not sure what to do now, because that's been left out all winter, so it would be pretty terrible. I think maybe it's always hard to tell what you've missed and what you haven't with precision farming. See, like this bit, it shows as not done, but nothing comes out. And then I think there's a little bit here. Yeah, there we go. So we'll shut that again. And I will just pull in, go and have a look at that bale. And you can see there the growth stage, it says 3 out of 3, so it'll be ready to harvest next month, so technically tomorrow, but we might be busy at the start. Yeah, that grass condition bale, that wouldn't be very nice in reality. So I presume it would still be alright for biogas. I haven't actually had any sort of real world experience with that, but our best sort of most realistic effort would be to sell it to the biogas plant, I think, which is only down the road, so we'll just have to keep it separate from the others. Transport the rotten bale back. One thing that I don't like about this tractor is I haven't found any sort of indicator lights on the dashboard. Those two don't seem to do anything, so we're indicating right at the moment. That and the B pillar of the cab with the default view makes it really hard to see traffic, but I have the I can't remember which mod it is, but it might be vehicle control add-on, but shift to lean basically, which is really handy for stuff like that. Somewhere in all that fiddling around we turn the work light on. The days are staying longer now, it's March, and late March at that, so I don't think we'll need headlights on just yet, but we might for the 2 bottom fields. And I think with lime we tend to go the right hand side of that electricity pole, and with fertiliser the left is fine because it's so much wider, although I'm worried I've missed a tiny bit. Don't think so, looking at the map. This corner here has more fertiliser than the rest of it because it's where we put our silage bales last year. So we only really did sort of a 1.5 cuts on that. And it's still quite a good place, but I'd ideally like to get some flat ground. I think field 19, yeah, comes with some nice flat ground by where the 2 creeks join together. And again, I think I've got the whole field, and in real life I'd just stop here, but because it's Farming Simulator I do want to make sure I got this corner bit here. And I didn't, so I feel validated. We'll just buzz up here and do the last couple passes, and yeah, we're fine for fertiliser and fuel. We might be able to get this all in one if we're sneaky. I think so. So yeah, nice easy job, not too long, don't need to time lapse it or anything. And I did hear from Fenderer, I think it was in the last video, or through Discord, said that I should have ended up getting the grass roller. Not really because of the yield bonus as much as it immediately resets the growth stage. So if we cut it in, say, April next month, if we then ran the roller over it straight away, I think what it would do is change the harvested state, or basically move the grass growing again, so we'd be able to cut it a month sooner, which seems to me a much bigger benefit than just the little yield benefit. So maybe I should have gone for that, and it would have been fun to try it, but we missed out on that one, I think. I will quickly check the used market here. 6-row head, baler. Yeah, there's some interesting tractors. Once we're back at the farm, I'll maybe take a quick look, even though we should not be buying anything other than land. That's all we need. So yeah, again, I think we did plough up this land as well. I think this was just meadow grass before we ploughed it and put these two little grass fields in, which in reality I think it's just kind of semi-wasted grass, because this road to our left is a driveway for a farm. And I think actually, is it Celabuki, the map creator, basically has modelled in the distance the little farm up the end of the road, which is really cool, even though it's ages away. I think if we get out of the trees, and it does get a bit low res, you're not really supposed to be ploughing up all the verges, but if we zoom out, yeah, you see there's some buildings, and even further up there's a building on the hill. So he's done a fantastic job of modelling the horizons and making it look really convincing, unless you're right up close like we are now. And all the borders are seasonal, of course, so they're really in keeping with each stage, what's growing in the fields, basically. Now we have to be careful not to drive this down the dip. I think I usually either turn around something like this without locking it up and destroying our PTO. Yeah, that'll do. It's a bit of a weird field because it's got the pointy bit. But with that, it should bring us to an end. So I think we'll head back and then shift some water for the greenhouses with the little John Deere and call it a day. Probably we'll have a bit of a shorter video. I've been trying to keep the other ones a reasonable length, just because that episode 2, I think it was, came to over an hour before I edited it down. So I'd like to keep them in the 20 to 40 minute range. I think that's fair, but probably about 25 to 30 minutes is, I feel, quite a nice casual time. So if one comes out longer, maybe I'd need to split it into a 2-parter or something, but we haven't got to all the big jobs like harvesting yet. I'm not sure if I start doing contracts, which I think will roll in quite heavily in April. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about that. Whether I'll film it all or keep it mostly off camera so it makes our actual farming more interesting, or what. I think I'll probably film the first bits, and then once it starts to get a bit repetitive, we'll just do it in the background, a bit like what we've been doing in the forestry, and then we can do it every once in a while. So anyway, here's our Model A, which spends most of its life on the water tanker, but we also use it for shuffling trailers and augers about. It's useful for moving the Anderson bale wrapper. And we'll just take it on a little loop, filling up all of these, and then we'll fill the tank up, and I'm not sure how much it will use. It's got a little outboard motor there. That one didn't take much. And it does have a nice sharp lock, obviously, with it being narrow front, so it makes it really handy to get in all of these greenhouses. Okay, that's going to empty us out, so we'll go down to the creek and turn around on field 19 land, which isn't technically ours, but we'll own it soon, I hope, and I'm sure the neighbours don't mind us just dipping in there to turn around. We did do some landscaping and flatten it out for them, so it's not nearly as much of a harsh bump, and you don't get the danger deep water warning anymore, or you shouldn't anyway. No. So I tried to make it look a bit like we'd been using it as a turning circle, but also that maybe livestock have been walking through and that kind of thing, which is similar to how it is in real life. You'll just drive through here, press R and pump from the river. Now this flat land here is what I was saying about nice ground to put our bales on, basically. And in the past we did use an ag bagger at 1 year. It didn't really work. That was completely forgot about that. We bought a New Holland FP240, a Meyer silage box. It was a financial disaster. We tried doing maize silage, and it was, yeah, a terrible idea. The 8910 didn't have enough power to power the Meyer up that field there. Yeah, that really impacted us financially too, as well as chopping and changing combines and the pigs. But what was my point? Oh yeah, we effectively rented ground from the neighbours there. I paid, like, I don't know, $500 or $1,000 for a couple seasons just to put the ag bag there. Wow, this is taking more water than I thought. And as you can see, we did use the skid steer, and we moved all of the manure that had built up in the next to the pig pen from mucking them out by hand, I guess. Automated in-game, of course. But we moved it all over here, which I feel is quite fitting for the greenhouses. Get to use some. And then also next to the seed and fertiliser shed, it's nice and handy for loading up our manure spreader in the future. So stop check, we've got all of these put away now, and we've obviously bought the extra nitrogen. There's 2 trailers, I just hooked them together, mainly for neatness. Anyway, yard lights have all come on. They're the Mercury yard lights. I do like this time of day. It's nice to just be doing home chores effectively, and it gives the little John Deere something to do. Been with us since new, but obviously hasn't had nearly the hours the white and the case have put on it. And we've used it a couple times for towing header trailers to just our fields, like the one just the other side of the road and that kind of thing. Nice light work for it to keep it going. And it really should be in a shed the whole time because its paint works still quite nice on it, but we've been a bit mean to it and kept it out all winter the last few. But maybe with our new workshop things will change and we'll have to drop a gear. A bit steep up here. So we've got our flex planter there all ready to be hooked up. I think I might try running that behind the case. Size wise, I'm not really sure what size of tractor you'd use on it because most of the John Deere 71 planters I've seen have been far smaller. Like in most of them even 2-row I'd say. So I don't know whether the case would be overkill or not, but I'm just thinking it doesn't have GPS and that planter's got the side markers, so that might be quite fun to use. With the case we don't even have the side marker, the case 970, sorry, and that 4-row planter we don't have the side markers at all, so we just kind of line it up with the bonnet corners and it gets a little annoying at times. If we were using it on a row crop ready map we wouldn't have very straight rows at all. I'll also have to try to edit the corn texture this year to give it correct 30-inch, I think, row spacing. But then, like I said in an earlier video, we'll keep the soybeans the same, do them narrow, because that's more, not necessarily more realistic than wide planted soybeans, but it's certainly a lot more fitting than narrow corn on a Midwestern map, I feel. In my very novice, inexperienced opinion. And normally I take a load of water to the pig trough, but I don't think, well, we certainly don't have any pigs out there, so we'll leave it anyway. Wouldn't be running water to it specifically to a trough that didn't have any animals in the pen. And then we'll use them to separate the sows out in May when we wean them. That's mainly what we use that pen for, is for splitting the animals up. We'll try to get this tucked in nicely alongside. And I'm really hoping, yeah, there we go. Still got some in the tank. There we are, look at that. Anyway, enough sightseeing. I think that's all for today, really. And I did notice as well that that new workbench actually has a light that comes on, which is really handy. And it illuminates a surprising amount, so it'll make stuff really nice and handy to work on. Look at that, yeah. I do love this Steiger. I cannot wait to use it properly. But anyway, I'll see you all in the next one, which will definitely involve some planting, and then we should also be using the white to get a first cut off our grass now that the nitrogen's all up to scratch. See there, we're only one stage off needing soil sampling, which is why I bought this thing. So that'll be probably a job for the next month or two as well. I'll see you all in the next one, everyone. Bye bye.